Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with episode 10 of Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt. So, just gonna say this right off the bat, the next video after this is gonna probably be the last, I think. Let me just make sure on something here. Yeah, there's 13 episodes. I think I'm gonna do 11, 12, and 13 all together. Um, just just to kind of finish this up and everything. And it's like with other stuff in the past. It's not a case of I just want to get this over with or anything. No, it's more along the lines of I want to do the last three together because I don't necessarily think they're going to be like this big ongoing thing. The episodes 11 and 12 are probably going to be just continued random bullshit. It's bullshit, let's be honest. Episode 13 might be double length and might be like the big finale, and that's fine, but yeah. Um but we are going to close it out and just kind of go on to our next our next show. And I'm still kind of trying to think of what we're going to do for the next one. Because this is a first impressions continuation. But right now, we have another first impressions continuation going. Ghost and Molly McGee. But that's also going to be finishing soon because, or at least going on hiatus soon. Because of, after the May episodes of this of the season, it's going on hiatus. So, which is still stupid, but that's not relevant right now. So, I'm thinking maybe keeping that slot for the first impressions for now, while maybe like changing up this slot to something else. I'm not entirely sure at the moment. I was talking about bringing Fire Force back once I got all the episodes downloaded. I have that now, but I don't know if I want to switch this to a donation reward slot right now. We only have one dono reward at the moment with Dragon Prince. I'm not sure. I could keep it a first impression slot. That is a choice. Or I could even just put it into a Connie's choice slot, just something that I want to get to. It's really hard to say what to do with it. I'll obviously have that decided by the next video, though, and well, I'll announce it there as to what's going to replace it and like what kind of replacement it's going to be. It's just gonna, I guess, depend on what I'm feeling at the moment, what I'm feeling like I want to get to and everything. Because there's obviously still quite a few things on the list of all of these different kinds of impressions, continuations, of dono rewards, of stuff that I just want to get to personally. So it's just a case of picking and choosing, since we only have 6 slots right now. But we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out and kind of go from there. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. In the meantime, last episode we had the beach volleyball episode with Scanty and Knee Socks, which, yeah, it's a beach episode in an anime. It's fan servicey. Although a lot of this series is just most of this series is just fan servicey because that's just the kind of satire it is. But it like got notable with the last episode with the swimsuits and everything, and the one moment, like the brief like couple of frames where if you pause it, you can actually see Scanty's full on nipples. Even though she's kind of like burnt to a crisp at that point, you still see them. And it's like, okay, Neat. I'm still more into knee socks than scanty, but hey, I'll take some titties when I can see them. um, but yeah, in all seriousness and everything, we also had the second segment from last episode, which was not good. One of the weakest segments of this entire series. Um, it was just really fucking bad. It was stupid. It was unenjoyable. It just didn't work on pretty much any level. And it's like I believe I said it in the reaction, but I definitely said it in the comments in response to well, a comment. um, but I'm very accepting of things that might not be my thing. I'm very accepting of people's tastes, of their viewpoints. I tend to lean very progressively towards that kind of stuff. Even if it's not my kind of thing, I am usually going to support people's choices in that regard. And if they have different tastes than me in terms of a partner, romantic, sexual, either way, or in terms of anything really, I'm fine with that. But that kind of goes out the window when abuse is on the line. Like, stalking was very much being emotionally abused. She was being mistreated and she was just accepting it. For some, like, even if you just even ignoring the fact that she's just attracted to this guy, even though he's disgusting and gross and weird and rude and everything, ignoring just the general attraction, I can get over that. But the fact that she makes like these excuses for him and sides with him and stays with him even though he is so abusive and all, it's Stockholm syndrome. Well, maybe not exactly. Stockholm syndrome's more like with your captor, but it's the same kind of idea. This dude is abusing her, is mistreating her, and she's just okay with it because for some reason she's attracted to him. It's just, it's not okay. Like, even for a satire, it's like, again, I can be okay with her being attracted to him through even though he's gross and stuff, because that's, I get the satire, I get the joke behind that. But the abusive stuff is where it stops being a joke, is where it stops being like parody. It's like that's not okay. Like that crosses a certain line that I can't reconcile. And so it bothered me. It's not even just that I thought it was poorly written and I just didn't think it was well handled and all that. I believe all that. That's true. But I also was bothered by it because abusive relationships bother me. They're terrible. I've had plenty of friends who have been stuck in them. I've had family who are stuck in them. And in cases, I've been stuck in them. Because remember, I'm not just talking about necessarily romantic / sexual relationships. Like, any kind of abusive relationship counts here. It can be friends, it can be family, it can be anyone. Not just a partner. And it's super uncomfortable. And it's really uncomfortable to see someone being okay with it. Because that's not healthy. So it's just, I'm just not a fan of it. And also the fact that at the end, after everything, after being so abusive and terrible to her, he just becomes good. It's like, you've made me a better person. I'm going to rest in peace now. It's like, the fuck? Where did that even come from? There was absolutely zero setup for that, which again could be the joke. And it's like, if the abusive thing wasn't there, I could maybe like reconcile with it a little bit. But it's like, he was so actively abusive. It's like, no, you don't just change on a dime like that. People who are abusive can change and become better, but it's not that quick and sudden. It doesn't come out of literally nowhere like that. That's not how anything works. My God. But yeah, sorry for ranting on that again. It's just, it bothered me, and I wanted to get that out before we started this episode, so I could just get it out, clear my mind from it, let it go, move on. So hopefully this episode and the segments within are better in that regard. But we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, we're gonna just get into it, hope for the best, and hopefully have a good time. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Excuse me. Because after it fades to black and fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and contain spoilers to the episode. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, every episode of this has 2 segments, except this episode, which for some reason had 5. They were notably shorter, with 3 of them being, like, really short little things. I guess let's just talk about them in order. So, Inner Brief was uncomfortable. And it's like, again, I stated in the pre-thoughts, I know this series is a satire. I know it's a parody. I know, I understand what the jokes are. Even with this segment here and everything, with Garterbelt forcing Brief to drink laxative and then forcing him to disrobe in front of him, and then him watching him shit while like staring at his crotch and everything. I get the idea because Garterbelt's a priest and everything. I understand the joke, but it's also super fucking uncomfortable. There's a certain point where a joke or a parody or a satire just, it goes too far to actually be funny. And I think I've talked about this in the past too, because they've done this kind of gag in previous episodes with Garterbelt and Brief, and it's not funny. It goes too far to the point where it just becomes offensive. It's the problem that a lot of adult animations have, stuff like Family Guy or South Park or whatnot, where they just where they're trying to be satire, they're trying to be parody, but again, they go too far. They take it to a point where it just stops being actual parody, where it stops being funny, where it stops being comedy, and it's just being offensive to be offensive. It's shock. And some people like shock humor. Some people are into that, but I'm not. Especially this kind where it involves an underage kid being aggressively sexualized against his will by a priest. You know, shit that happens in real life that is extremely uncomfortable in real life. The stuff with Panty and Stocking going into his body could have been fine. It could have been like a weird magic school bus thing, and then messing around in his body. I think it would have been better if, like, if they had, one, not been shrunk when this episode started, two, had the entire segment be about that, have it like an entire regular length segment, like 11 minutes, be about that, and have them, okay, they shrink themselves, they go into his body, and maybe start fighting like a virus or something, like Osmosis Jones style. That could be fucking cool. That could be fucking great. I mean, and they wouldn't be doing it to help him necessarily because, you know, they're kind of bitches. They would be doing it just because they would want to shrink, go into someone's body and fight a virus because they're fucking weird as hell, too. It's like, I could see that working, and actually getting to see them going throughout his body, seeing like what it looks like with them at their size and all, that could be great. But instead, they just made it an excuse to make a sexual joke about a teenage boy, and Panty and Stocking just completely being ridiculous. Like, Panty and Stocking, they didn't really do anything that mattered in this segment. It's like they were just there. This segment, let's be honest, was more about Garterbelt and Brief, and it was just super uncomfortable. The second, third, and fourth segment are a trilogy of segments. It's basically done as a trilogy. They're called Chuck to the Future, parts 1, 2, and 3. They have nothing to do with the title at all. And there's honestly little actual continuity between them, so it doesn't feel like they're supposed to be the same story ongoing, even though technically I guess they are, but each one is also entirely its own thing. And also, these three segments prove that Chuck cannot carry his own segment. They were fucking boring and stupid. Chuck is okay as a basically background / side gag with everything else going on. Chuck cannot hold his own segment. He's just not entertaining enough. They tried to do like this Tom and Jerry thing for a lot of it, especially in the first segment. It just didn't work. It wasn't funny. It didn't feel like it was doing it right. It just didn't work. So the first of them, Chuck to the Future Part 1, has Chuck coming across and battling the anti-Chuck, who I don't know if the anti-Chuck actually has a name. I've just been calling him anti-Chuck. I mean, I don't know. Maybe he does, or she does, I guess, probably. Because we see that Chuck and Anti-Chuck both have like these little demon dudes in their head that I guess maybe control them. And Anti-Chuck's is a woman. So is Anti-Chuck a girl? I actually have no fucking clue now. And we see in the first of these three segments, Chuck and Anti-Chuck are fighting, getting into Tom and Jerry shenanigans, and Chuck somehow manages to kill Anti-Chuck. Gets rid of their body, throws them in the trash and everything, but the little demon lady escapes. And that's the entire segment. It's like, just WTF. And again, it wasn't even good. Like, it was trying to be slapstick Tom and Jerry style and everything. It wasn't even good. The second segment, I guess, takes place afterwards because Chuck got ran over at the end of the first by Panty and Stocking. And I guess for some reason, that's the one thing that actually caused him to be injured. So in the second segment, he's injured, needs to pee, but can't get to his pee jug thing while he's all bandaged up. Even though, again, how would he even pee if he's all bandaged up down there, too? But he ends up peeing in his bandages, gets pissed, kills a fly that's been buzzing around. The fly's the fly comes back, gets other flies, and they start to take revenge on Chuck. Throw him in the microwave him, form a big middle finger with all of them, like a school of fish in Finding Nemo or something. And in the end of it, Chuck comes back Dr. Manhattan style, and is implied to have superpowers, but nothing ever comes of that, because of course not. Um, and that's how the second segment ends. This is about Chuck versus the flies, and it's like it I guess technically continues off the first, but is very disconnected at the same time. And then Chuck to the Future 3, Chuck is now in some kind of art house film, and it makes no sense. There's nothing to it. It makes no sense. There's no actual story. The superpowers don't actually come into play at all. It's just bullshit. It's artsy bullshit. And I get that's the joke. I understand the joke. It's not good. It's not well executed. It's not entertaining. It's not funny. It's nothing. And it's dumb. It's not good. And then the fifth and final segment of the episode. Also, before we get to that, the Chuck to the Future segments also had nothing to do with the title. Why were they called Chuck to the Future? There's absolutely no time travel stuff in them. It's obviously a Back to the Future reference, but there was no time travel stuff. There was nothing even slightly connected to Back to the Future. Nothing was similar to that. Usually when they have these titles, they're fitting. They make sense, even if just on a very small base level. Like there's some connection to them. Like here, we'll go back and give an example from a couple episodes again. Of the Dead. That's obviously a reference to classic zombie movies and everything. And the segment was a zombie segment. The one after that, One Angry Ghost, it was a reference to 12 Angry Men, a 50s courtroom drama. And the segment was a courtroom segment. It was a trial, which also referenced Phoenix Wright, the Ace Attorney series as well. You have Transhomers from episode 7, which was Transformers. Obviously, that was there. You got the example and everything. It's like, you get the idea. It's like these episodes have titles that make sense. But Chuck to the Future was illogical. It's like the only thing that connects it to Back to the Future is it being a trilogy. That's literally the only thing. But nothing else makes any logical sense as to why you would call it that. And I know you might say, oh, you're overthinking it. It's not meant to be taken that seriously. But again, other segment titles have done this with their references. It's just this episode, just these 3 segments, the Chuck to the Future ones, that have this issue. And then we have the last one, which is Help, We Are Angels, which is literally just a music video. It's entirely a music video. And it's the only segment of this episode that's good. And it's actually really good. As a fan of, like, rock music and stuff, I like a lot of the references in there. You had stuff like Kiss, you had Nirvana, you had the Beatles, all these great references in there. The song itself we've heard many times throughout the series so far, but never in its entirety, so it was fun to hear it in its entirety. Apparently it's called D-City Rock, which is obviously a reference to Detroit Rock City, which, again, going to Kiss. And yeah, it was very entertaining, very fun. Obviously kept within the humor of Panty and Stocking, having a lot of sexual stuff in there. And obviously talking about the characters and everything and their interests and all. yeah, it made sense. It was a good music video, and having a segment be a music video is also a fun idea. Because that was the entire segment. There was no lead up to it. There was no afterwards to it. It was just the music video. That's it. And that's all it needed to be. And I think that was actually a well executed and well handled segment in that regard. Um, it almost feels like, and I can't say, and I'm not going to assume this is the case, but I'm just going to say it feels like this was the case. Um, it feels like what they wanted to do, what the creators of this, the writers, the animators, and all, what they wanted to do was they wanted to make a segment with this music video. That was the intent, and the 4 segments before it were literally just thrown in just to justify having an entire segment be a music video. They had to run the rest of the time somehow, and so they just threw in 4 random segments, 3 of which are connected loosely, and the other one which is just, stupid, gross bullshit. And they just added that in without thinking. And they probably didn't even put a lot of effort into thinking about these segments, and it's like they probably didn't care. It was just to do this music video. And I don't know if, again, I don't know if that's the case. I'm not going to say for sure if that's the case because I don't know. I'm not going to assume. It just, that's what it feels like to me, because it seems like everything was put into that music video. The budget was even put into it. Like the first segment, the inner brief, even beyond just its grossness, it kind of looked very low budget to me. And it's not the first episode that has had weird animation. Obviously, I mentioned that previously in the series, but it looked like it was low budget compared to other segments in other episodes and stuff. And the Chuck to the Future ones, it's like the only one that looked like it had any budget put behind it was the last one. And that's only because it was artsy. Honestly, you could say it probably even didn't have that high of a budget. It was just made to look like it did. But the Chuck stuff, it's like there wasn't a lot to it, so it didn't need to have that high of a budget. It was mostly just Chuck being Chuck. So it's like you didn't need to put that much effort into it. So it seems like they saved all of their budget and stuff and blew it on that single music video just to make it be as epic and cool as it is, and everything else was just an afterthought, just thrown in to justify the music video. I would not doubt this in a second. It makes sense because it just seems like so little effort was put into all the other segments and that they just didn't seem to work at all. I don't believe that they were pre-planned that well in advance. I don't believe that they were given any real attention and care when being made compared to other segments we've had. Even other segments that have been bad, like the Ghost, the Phantom of Dodson City from last episode. Even that felt like it actually had effort put into it. It was just bad. The first 4 segments in this episode did not feel like any effort was actually put into them. Like I said, I've been repeating myself over and over here. It just felt like they were filler just to get to this music video, just to excuse doing this music video and putting all of their budget into this music video. And was it worth it? Yes and no. Because again, while the music video was the best segment in this and was actually really fucking good, I cannot necessarily say it was worth it to go through 4 segments of just bad, just really bad shit to get to that. Because most of the time, the majority of this episode, I was actually upset. Like, really upset. Like, honestly, more upset than last episode. More upset than with that Phantom of Dodson City segment. Maybe because of the Phantom of Dodson City segment, I was already like disappointed by that. Maybe because of that, but I was actively upset watching this episode almost the entire way through because it's like I'm like I'm almost I was actually kind of getting pissed a little bit. It's like I wanted to come into this today and be entertained. I wanted to come into this and have normal, fun panty and stocking shenanigans, and instead we get that shit. Luckily, my mood turned around with the last segment with the music video, but everything leading up to that, I was, again, I was pissed. I don't know if, like, it showed on camera. I felt like I was just being very quiet, which, mind you, I do tend to do when I get pissed. I'm one of those seethers. I've talked about this before, but for those who are newer or might not have seen me talk about it, when I get angry, I seethe. I don't yell. I don't get very aggressive. I get very quiet and I seethe in that anger. Um, it actually is rare for me to actually show outward aggression when I'm angry. It has happened, and it does happen occasionally, such as in Ruby Volume 9. I'll not go further than that for those who might not have seen that, and especially someone I know who hasn't seen that yet and who watches these reactions. But there is a moment in Ruby Volume 9 that got me really heated, and I did get outwardly aggressive. Um, but that's rare for me. It's very rare that that happens. Usually, again, I just seethe, and so that's kind of what was going on there with this episode. That's why I was getting as quiet as I was. Why I was like sitting here with my hand like this on my cheek, um, because I was not enjoying it. Usually, when I'm doing this during a reaction, I'm either bored or angry. I'm in general, I'm just not enjoying myself. I'm not enjoying the reaction. I'm not having fun. Now there's some exceptions. Sometimes I might just be doing it because not really much is happening and I'm just waiting for something to happen. Sometimes I might even do it just because I'm feeling a little tired. It happens, but most of the time it's either because I'm bored or angry. One of the two. Um, and this time it was anger. Luckily, again, like I said, the final segment pulled it back out and allowed me to at least have fun with watching that. I was enjoying that. Again, all the references in there, especially ones I was getting and understanding, it's like there were even some that looked really familiar. Like one of the album covers they showed was Garterbelt's face, like really close up and smushed and everything. Just that was the entire album cover. I'm like, what is that? What is that? I'm wondering if I could find out like what all the album covers were. Let me see. Um, Give this a second to come up. I'm using fandom.com, which sometimes can run a little slowly, so give me a second. Okay. It's called Help We Are Angels. Because on fandom, on this website, it usually gives you like a list of what all the references are. I don't need the lyrics. Okay, it tells you all the artists that are parodied. Apparently, they're the Doors. I didn't catch that one. I caught the Elvis one. I caught Kiss, the Beatles. I don't think I caught Oasis. I caught Lady Gaga. I saw Queen. Did not catch Tattoo, but I don't know Tattoo that well. Did not catch Jimi Hendrix. I believe I saw the Sex Pistols one. I was trying to figure out what that one was. It was like all like the tape and everything and like the anarchy stuff, which obviously fitting because of punk music and everything. I don't know if I saw Ozzy Osbourne. I saw Marilyn Manson. I definitely did not see Gorillaz, which is weird because I love Gorillaz. So okay, but here, yes, I that's what I was thinking. The Garnet one was or Garterbelt. Why do I keep saying Garnet? This is not Steven Universe. I was thinking that the Garterbelt one. Okay, the other ones though, were the Division Bell and the Velvet Underground and Nico. Um, you had Nevermind, which is the album from Nirvana with the baby in the pool going after the money and everything, the dollar. It's like very classic album cover. But the last one, the one with Garterbelt's face smushed and everything, I'm like, I'm trying to think. It's like, is that in the court of the Crimson King? And it's like I wasn't sure. The album's known by a couple things. It's called In the Court of the Crimson King or An Observation by King Crimson, and it's by King Crimson, who is also the reference for the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure stand. And it's like I've seen the album cover because of looking things up from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And so I'm looking at that while watching, and it's like, is that King Crimson? But I'm not 100% sure, and so I don't think I mentioned anything, but yeah. um, and there's some other general trivia mentions in here, and references to other media. For example, one of it, like, there's a logo shown at the top left of the video referencing MTV, stuff like that. The framing device of the Rowdy Punk concert closes the video in the same fashion as the music video for Desolation Row by My Chemical Romance, a cover of the song that My Chemical Romance did. In the shot where Panty is wrapped up in police tape, the woman on the far left bears a striking resemblance to Jessie from Pokemon. Okay. That's interesting to know. But yeah. So there's just some interesting little references and stuff in that segment. And again, it was the best segment of the episode and really the only good one, in my opinion. Though I again, it just doesn't seem like any effort was put into the first four. So I don't see, honestly, I would not understand how anyone could find those first four segments good. If you're entertained by them, even despite them not being good, that's fine, and it's completely subjective. I just don't understand it. It's perfectly all right. I just don't get it because those first four segments were painful to sit through. Hopefully, the last three episodes are good because I'm gonna be annoyed if they're not. But that will be next time. In the meantime, let me know what you thought in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.